all of that combined made me question, why don't we have better solutions in skincare? Because everything inside is mirroring outside, right?
Mhm.
But everything we have in the beauty industry is temporary.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's segment right here on the Product and Packaging Powerhouse. I am your show host, Megan Young Gamble, and Chief Project Officer at GLC, your packaging and project execution team. And ladies and gentlemen, I am so honored to have today's featured powerhouse guest because not only is she big about creating intentional products, she has a PhD. She is making sure that you understand the importance of what you put on your skin, how stress, chronic stress at that, and inflammation can impact your skin, as well as some aggressors, which we're going to talk about, such as pollution and other respective aggressors. And she also wants to help ensure that you're using products that help with hormonal balance. And so for today's featured powerhouse guest, I have Dr. Ebru, who is an internationally recognized immunologist, molecular medicine expert, and a certified wellness coach with over 25 years of experience. And so, with her groundbreaking work, she is the founder of Avicina and also the chief consultant officer at Chic Science Labs, where she offers a unique perspective on the conversation around merging cutting edge research with mindful daily rituals to help others feel and live their best. And so we're going to get into Dr. Ebru's story here. But before we do so, make sure, of course, you do hit that subscribe button and also make sure you follow us and get in contact with Dr. Ebru, because what you're going to hear for today's featured segment is definitely why you need to connect with her. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our featured powerhouse for today, Dr. Ebru. So, welcome to the house.
Thank you so much, Megan. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, likewise, likewise. And so I always, you know what, I think you're my first official doctor, PhD, here. And for you to be a researcher, to share your insights and why you got into this work, I'm truly honored. And I always love learning from people like you, as a prior chemistry major that rolls into the packaging industry that I'm in. So it's not about me, it's about you, and to educate our listeners and viewers. So I would love for you, Dr. Ebru, to share a little bit about yourself, how you got into the journey, and and how you decided to focus on immunology.
Okay. Well, let's keep this entertaining, right?
Okay.
Because, well, yeah. So, okay, I'm a doctor. Yeah, I'm a PhD. I'm a nerd. And curiosity has been always my North Star. I mean, there's this saying, curiosity killed the cat. It brought
Mhm.
it back. Well, it didn't kill me enough, I guess, because I did PhD. I got into more research. So, yeah, I've been slayed a couple of times. Let's put it that way. So, I love the question about why, which drove my mom and my dad crazy. So, they end up getting me those. I don't know if anybody would remember these red Encyclopedia Britannicas for the kids.
Okay.
My father got me all those when I was a kid. And he was like, "You can read. You're 5 years old, but you can read. Read this. Stop asking me questions." That's how the science started, okay? Because I was like, "Why is your tie so big?" Or "Why there's a like screaming person in the radio?" And it was like, "Enough. Here's the books. Read it." And that's how everything started, like curiosity. And in the meantime, why immunology? Because I was getting this class, and at the same time, the new movie, of course, back then, Outbreak, with Dustin Hoffman came out, and I was like fascinated. I was like, immune system, whoa! And then I had this amazing professor. He looked like Sean Connery, sounded like Sean Connery.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, he was cool. And the way he explained the immune system just clicked. It just clicked. So that's how I became fascinated. how the immune system is our private and silent guardian, your own SWAT team, your own army, you call
Hmm.
it. And it's also intimately linked to how we look, how we feel, and how we age. And that's also my journey during the research also became personal because I was struggling with chronic acne thanks to all the stress I've been going through. And then, of course, I later watched my dad go through the cancer battle and his skin sensitivities. So all of that combined made me question, why don't we have better solutions in skincare? Because everything inside is mirroring outside, right?
Hmm.
But everything we have in the beauty industry is temporary. You know, it just fixes it for a second. It looks good, you feel good, but does it really help? It didn't help me for, personal reasons. So that is why I wanted to come up, like, integrate the science with everyday life. So, yeah, that's how everything started.
I love that. And, from the beginning of time, we've always been taught, and you have a little one. So we both are teaching our little ones about the importance of hygiene. So even with applying lotion, and protective barriers on our skin, it starts at a young age to now being adults, having more responsibilities, more stress. Like I just gave birth. My listeners know I'm coming back from maternity leave. So my skin is different in this postpartum stage than it was pre-pregnancy stage. So with that, I love the fact that you decided to focus on immunology because your skin is the first line of defense. And what you apply onto your skin can definitely have an impact on it and also can help it live in your mood, or it can make you feel down about your skin, based upon some of the reactants that you're having, and also what you eat. So I would love to hear from your perspective, with you being an immunologist and how you're merging science and beauty. How do you also incorporate wellness into your philosophy and your practice as well?
So you're very right. I mean, skin is the first line of defense. And these days, people talk about skin barriers, and it kind of makes you think that it's like a wall, but it's not. It
Hmm.
is, and you're an open system. Okay, let's start with that. Your body is an open system. You feel everything that's going around you. This could be heat, this could be wet, this could be rain, even a
Hmm.
negative person walking into the room coming with all that pissy energy, you feel it. So
Yeah.
you're an open system. Your skin is your outer layer, but it's designed to feel everything. The temperature changes, the humidity, even that energy change, like how
Yeah.
you like your back of your like goes up and you're like, when you
Yeah.
feel something bad happening, that's part of it. So, with that said, it's constantly sending and receiving signals to maintain your body's balance. What we mean with balance is your wellness. So, if you're well, you're balanced. And one of the big surprises when I was doing my research, even subtle changes in the inflammatory, level can impact how you feel, how your
Mm.
body functions. And I want to also make a side note here. Unfortunately, these days, the beauty industry and the food industry is constantly saying inflammation is bad. No, inflammation is not bad. There are types of inflammation, and we need to define those inflammations, which one is bad. So we need acute systemic inflammation, okay, to stay alive. If we don't have that, we're bombarded every day with bacteria, viruses, all that. We will die. We
Hmm.
would die. That's it. If you don't have inflammation, we would die. So, what acute inflammation does, it sees the bacteria or the virus, it starts defending you against them, it defeats them, and then during that time, the inflammation goes up. And when it's defeated, it starts going down, starting the healing process. And it
Hmm.
goes back to its basal levels. However, there's two other kinds of inflammation we do not want to see. One of them is chronic inflammation, which happens during diseases, autoimmune diseases, cardiac problems, neurodegenerative diseases, that kind of thing. And it's too high, your inflammation is too high, and it's beyond normal levels. It cannot come down, and it starts hurting the body itself.
Hmm.
And then between the acute inflammation and the very high chronic inflammation, there's something called inflammaging. It was defined in 2000s by the Italian group and the Francesi, was the leading PI on that paper. He's the first one who defined it in the immunology world. What that is a combination of two words: inflammation plus aging. Okay. So that is a very low level of inflammation always going on. It's not as high as the chronic, so you will see symptoms right away saying, oh my God, I'm breaking down, there's something wrong. No,
Mm-hmm.
it's silent. It's like leaving your car, but you don't hear the engine, but the engine is on,
Okay.
you
Okay.
know? So in that case, what happens is this: it starts impacting the body's functions. It impacts your collagen tissue in the skin, the elastin, and you start looking more tired and prematurely aged, let's call it,
Mm.
because it causes aging. So that is the problem. So for us to balance the inflammation and the immune wellness is very important. However, there's a lot of factors that stimulates this inflammation, and we've been bombarded with those every day.
Okay. So what would some of those factors be with inflammaging?
Sure. One of them is stress.
Okay.
Stress is the biggest culprit, unfortunately, because your brain is very, very powerful. Like when they talk about manifestation, affirmations, all that. Yeah, there's a truth to it because your brain can make it happen. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, let me give you an example. So, for example, you're thirsty, you're thinking you're thirsty, and then what that means is you want a glass of water, right? You make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
But everything starts with a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the stress. Unfortunately, with the stress and anxiety, which can turn into anxiety, we are creating fear. Stress is in a way of fear, like anxiety about something that hasn't happened yet or happening right now, but it's out of your control, or
Mm-hmm.
you think it's out of your control. So, what does that do? It increases the cortisol levels. And during stress, your brain and your body doesn't know if you're running away from something or you're fighting against something. Again, even you are going through any of those two, the body's response is the same. Hunker down, try to reserve everything possible, but during that time, also your immune system also hunkers down. Like it works slower and it's not as responsive as before. So, what does that do? Stress induces inflammation. Your eating habits, what you put in your body, that also induces inflammation, like fatty foods, too much alcohol, what you smoke, environmental pollution, all that, everything adds up. Not enough sleep. Oh boy, that induces like don't sleep for a couple days, really good, and you're gonna see your face going really tired and looking dry and breaking out. See, that is inflammaging there because it just starts right away showing up. So it is interesting how your body is designed to respond to everything and at the same time works to protect you. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's not enough. Like it tries to fix everything inside, but then if you start seeing all those signs of inflammation, like fatigue, your joints are aching, your skin looks crappy, you feel crappy, that's in a way your body saying, like, look, you need to intervene here. I can't help you anymore. There's something wrong here. I mean, put your paws, do something.
Yeah.
Basically, that's that.
Okay. And look, that may be my case with inflammation, just in this postpartum stage because I'm having the achy joints, picking, lifting my baby girl up, to lack of sleep. I try to look better than how I feel in most cases, but I may be experiencing my own inflammation, at the same time.
Your body is going huge changes, huge.
Yeah.
So when we are pregnant, estrogen and progesterone levels go up, right? But then the
Hmm.
moment you give birth, it starts going down,
Hmm.
right down.
Yeah.
And that's not easy on the body.
No.
It affects the hormones, affects your mind, your brain structure, your immune responsiveness, because everything your body does during pregnancy is to keep you alive and function.
Yeah.
But the main point is to keep the fetus, the baby, alive and functioning and growing healthily as
Hmm.
much as possible.
Yeah.
So in a way, we are as mothers, second, the second level. The first one is the baby. But when it's born, you're also, if you're pumping or you're, milk, giving milk, that's also a huge drain of energy. So
Yes.
it is not easy. You are creating life from two cells. After two cells, that's combined into one and then becomes a baby. So yes, you're going probably through inflammaging because your body's trying to say, okay, I had all this estrogen. Where did it go? Now we
Mm-hmm.
have to do this. Okay, we'll do this. So that level of estrogen also affects your bones, everything, and your bone
Mm-hmm.
marrow, everything. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not gonna lie. You know what happened with me? I'm gonna share this. This is
I
gonna be
love
fun.
to hear.
So I gave birth when I was 49.
What a blessing.
She's a miracle child. So we had IVF and it worked. And, but boy, was it hard because one, it was during COVID. Second of all, I went from pregnancy and 8 months later into menopause, just like that.
Wow.
Yeah, because I mean, she was last of my eggs, right? And IVF can get you into menopause faster. I was like, why am I having hot flashes? Where did the period go? What the hell? And I'm still pumping. And I was like, this is not right. I'm pumping. What happened? And of course, I went to OBGYN and I was like, what's going on? She was like, oh my God, I never seen this before. I was like, yeah. But think like from going hundreds of thousands of picograms of estrogen in your bloodstream to
Mm-hmm.
maybe 100 picograms, like going down
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
It's not fun. I don't wish on my worst enemy. But definitely, I was going through inflammation. I mean, every
Wow.
part of my body was aching. So, anybody who's going through pregnancy or menopause, my heart goes out to you.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. It just showcases the power of a woman. No discount to men, but we're about women empowerment over here right now. Because we create life and we go through so many changes and we go through inflammaging. As Dr. Ebru was discussing as well, because it is not easy. And even with me at this current stage, baby girl is 16 weeks at the time of this recording. Mama is tired, fatigued, bones aching. I'm trying to look better than how I feel in most cases, but overall I'm doing good. But this drop in estrogen, nobody warned me about this. So I'm glad to hear, and it's validating that it's not just me. This is part of our body responses. And, with the drop in estrogen, like this is just what it is. And it's validating we go through inflammaging at different stages in life too,
Exactly.
based upon your environment and what you eat and the stress and cortisol levels, estrogen drop, etc. So this is helpful in validating some of this for all women. So shout out to all the women who's listening and tuning in. You understand what we're going through and what we're discussing. So appreciate that. So as part of Inflammaging, Dr. Ebru, I know you are a brand owner yourself. So you're a researcher, but you're also a brand owner, and
Hmm.
you have your brand Avicina. So how do you, well, share with us, one, what is the mission of Avicina? And then secondly, how do you create intentional products that help with inflammaging?
Sure. The mission of Avicina is to share the science as much as
Mm,
possible.
okay.
As an academician in the beauty industry, things are a little bit different. The main point is to share the beauty, make people feel good about themselves and all
Yep.
that, make
Yep.
them pretty. And I get the profit and everything. But some things got to change.
Hmm.
And especially now, we are flooded with an inflation of brands, and every celebrity out there is doing
A product.
a
Yeah.
brand. That doesn't work that way. And Avicina was founded to convey all the information, all the knowledge I have as much
Mm,
as possible, because I realized I could go to the conferences, I can talk all the way, but I'm
yeah.
talking to my colleagues in the same audience, and boy, they're hard. I mean, they're like, did you do this? I'm like, yeah, if you give me the money, I'll do that research too, but we don't have that much money to do that. But
Yeah.
that's the thing. That information doesn't reach to the people
Mm,
because it's not sexy enough. It is not, I don't know, dramatic enough. Or
mm,
I'm not a celebrity. I'm not going to open up my boobs and say immunology.
yeah.
That's not going to happen. But that's the thing. So Avicina was founded for that with functional products.
Mm,
Because here's the other thing, this is based on my personal experience. And here's why, because I was spending all that money, all kinds of skincare brands. I mean, from the cheapest one to the most expensive one. And the main point of all those very famous mass produced brands was great packaging,
Hmm.
fantastic packaging.
Yeah.
But the inside wasn't talking to me. The
Mm.
science wasn't answering my problems.
Mm.
And it made me question. I mean, they had millions, billions of dollars, and we're still getting a crappy product in a very pretty packaging.
Yeah.
Packaging is important, don't get me wrong, because packaging can break a product or make a product based on what you
See.
selected to
Hmm.
contain the good formula in it.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't end up with that. You need something inside with substance. So that's why Avicina was founded. So also, we came up with six products only for skincare: one cream, one serum, one oil, one cleanser, and one mask. And here's why: nobody's rich enough to buy cheap products. That's number one.
Yeah.
You don't want cheap products on your face, on your loved ones, on your baby. You don't want any of that, because
Yeah.
cheap means at the end of it cheap results, which means bigger problems you have to solve with a lot of money. So
Mm.
it comes back to, you either end up with a dermatologist, or you end up with getting another product to solve your problem. Or, and here's another thing: the beauty industry wants you to get as many products as possible to solve as many problems as possible. It's good for profit, but it's
Hmm.
not good for you to having five different creams to solve five different problems at one time point. I
Yeah.
mean, you're overloading your skin. That's why with Avicina, we came up with multitasking products that solves many problems in one product. So that makes per ounce more cost effective, because I'm
Hmm.
using it too. And also, there's the time aspect.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have the time to put five different creams and three different cleansers and two different. I wish I did, but
Yeah.
even when I didn't have a kid and when I was young, I was like, okay, I'm bored now. What was next? You know,
Yeah.
I just want to put one cream on and one serum on and be done with it, or cleanser.
Hmm.
So Avicina was born with all these things in mind, as a busy woman who wants her time, her quality, and her money back.
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. And you mentioned a couple things that I want to just reiterate. So,
Sure.
how you mentioned like packaging, is important. And I tell brands this, and this is my philosophy. Packaging is the first impression of your brand. It's what entices people to pick it up, to want to try out the new product, to go for the unboxing experience, etc. However, the product is what keeps customers coming back for more. And so to your point, I had really bad acne, really bad cystic acne growing up and even into my adulthood. And I'm just now at the fine age of 37, about to be 38, just now getting my cystic acne under control because I'm being more conscious of what I'm eating, but also what I'm applying topically to my skin. And so I even went and used lower tier, lower price products, did not get the results, but then also thinking about why am I using a 10-step process? And now with a child, I have maybe three, max five steps that I can incorporate. And I'm really trying to get down to three,
Hmm.
for that. So to your point of having intentional products that are multitasking for various concerns is important, going back to the Inflammaging. And listeners, the link is down in the show notes for you all to go and visit Avicina's website. If you go to their explore page, she talks about the differences of resilient skin and weakened skin and how Inflammaging is part of the weakened skin. So it really goes in depth. And when she says shares the science, she's showing you graphics of like the layers of the epidermis and the capillaries and the arteries and how the weakened skin is displayed. So she is very intentional about sharing the science, her mission, like she mentioned. So go check out the website. Link is down in the show notes. So product is what keep people coming back for more. But then secondly, skin minimalism, because you and I are both busy women. We're moms. We have businesses. You're a researcher, so you're doing other respective efforts. I have a business. You have two businesses, with the brand and the consulting side, Chic Science Labs. So we have a lot of things that we're juggling, right? And we don't have time to be sitting there for a whole hour just on a skincare regimen. So the skin minimalism routine is something valuable for all of us professionals. And a lot of my listeners are those busy professionals who are traveling, who have kids, who are, maybe a spouse, and all the different facets of our life. So, to your point, I would love to ask you this: with brands that are thinking about a skinimalism approach and also creating those intentional products, like you mentioned and like you execute with Avicina, what would you recommend to brand owners that want to incorporate more of a skin minimalism product line?
Sure. First, stop following the trends. Do not follow the trends because that's a rabbit hole you don't want to go into.
Yeah.
Because every day there's gonna be a new trend coming up, and then don't like you can't deal with that. You don't have enough money to deal with that. So find your like every brand has their own story, right?
Hmm.
Within that story, find what you want to achieve with your product. If for me, it's Inflammaging because of my immunology background, right?
Yeah.
For you, it could be, let's say you're a mother, that's your brand, and you want to talk to the women at perimenopausal level, what kind of products would you offer them? You
Hmm.
know, you find your niche. I think that's the most important part. And then after you find your niche, find a good formulator who will talk your language. That's very important because there's tons of formulators out there and most of them are very good, but you need to find a person who you can relate to, because if you
Yeah.
can't relate, if you can't convey your idea, and of course nobody's going to expect you to know formulation or packaging and all that. That's the formulator's job, that's the packaging guy's job.
Yeah.
But if you don't align with them and if you realize they're just doing this for money, walk away.
Yeah.
Walk away. They need to understand you, they need to become your best ally, because you're
Hmm.
going to have days of like, crap, I don't know what I'm doing. So they pick you up and say, we got you.
Yeah.
Gotcha. You need to feel like when you're working with your formulator or your packaging, you need to feel like you're coming home. That's
Hmm.
what I like. That's why we opened up Chic Science, because there were so many brand owners saying that I can't find a good formulator I can talk to. I don't know what I'm doing. I want this, but is this correct? Because that is not their expertise to know.
Yeah.
I mean, they can learn it. Everybody can learn everything. But
Yeah.
do you have the time? That's the thing. So that's one of the most important things. Be judicial at where you spend your money and who you spend it with.
Yeah.
And when you put that money down, nobody earns it very easily, especially these days. Talk, make the talk, and become friends and say, look, I'm giving you my baby here. Help me out here. And if
Yeah.
that person really relates to you, they're going to do the best they can to get the best product out for you. But then find your niche, don't follow trends, find a good person, and
Mm.
always work with good people. I
That's
think
it.
that's the thing, because if that person doesn't believe you, there's two things here. Either you can't make them believe because you don't believe in yourself that you're going to be able to do this. So that's a thing you need to work on yourself. Or that person only sees you as dollar signs. Yes. And then going to do the job, but going to do a poor job,
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah.
you don't need that. Like first part you can solve it yourself.
Yeah.
You can solve that. But the second part, you need to be critical. Be critical. And then say, okay, we can't work together. That's fine. We'll go to someone else. That's
Yeah.
okay. And it's okay.
Yeah, and it's totally okay. Even for my firm, company brands come to me. They're like, "Yeah, I was working with this person who focuses on packaging, but they would just push this one type of packaging." And I'm like, "Let's have a conversation. Let's see what they do, and not to discount or shame or bash anybody, but understand. Walk me through your journey. What does this mean? What are the key values for your brand?" They're like, "You're asking me all of this? Absolutely. I mean, because it's one, I want to help you succeed. It's not just me being in business, to make a dollar. It's really about making sure that you're set up for success. You understand the risk, going this route. What is the product? What are the ingredients inside of your formulation to know what's the best packaging,
Oh yeah.
to understand if we need opaque packaging, what can be executed, price point. I'm asking all those questions. They're like, you ask all that? I do. So to your point, having the right partners in place and somebody that believes in the brand, when you believe in the brand, as well, is definitely important to make sure that you're crafting a viable product for your niche audience. So I love that. And one thing that you mentioned is don't listen to the trends, right? And I had a question about what are some trends you're seeing, but I'm gonna pose this as what are some trends that you wish would stop or you wish were not so prevalent in
Anything on
today's market?
TikTok, it needs to stop.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my God. Like, because I think there was the other day I saw it, dermatologists are tired of TikTok trends because the kids, the teenagers, are trying everything they see, and then the dermatologist office are flooded with them. And somebody actually wrote a publication about it, a scientific paper, saying that, oh, TikTok is damaging the teenager's skin. I'm like, duh, did
Duh.
you need a scientific paper for this? Well, it had statistical results, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. TikTok trends stop. I mean, the scariest trend I saw was there was this girl putting poop on her face saying, I feel my skin feels amazing. I'm like, I think you stink right now.
Yes.
Nobody's going to realize your skin is amazing. You probably stink. How are you going to take it out?
Right.
And there's no scientific reasoning for that. I
No.
mean, now they're doing overlaying to get baby smooth skin in the morning. They're putting creams over creams and masks.
Yeah.
They're sleeping with that. And they're like 17, 18. You don't need that. It's going to break. And at the beginning, it's going to feel amazing
Mm-hmm.
because it's already, you put all those humectants and everything and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, your skin microbiome is going to say, and your skin barrier is saying, there's too much stuff here.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how am I going to deal with this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's gonna break out, and that's what's happening. So that's one of the things that I really don't like. Second of all is the fear mongering in the social media. Like, this ingredient is bad, that ingredient is bad, natural is good, chemical is bad. Okay, water is a chemical. Okay, let's make that, like,
Okay.
you
Yes.
you are composed of chemicals. Everything is a chemical.
Yeah.
Okay, so, like, not everything natural is good, not everything chemical or synthetic is bad. We need
Mm-hmm.
like, peptides are made in the lab. I'm not going to go out and get an animal and harvest peptides from its steak. That's not going to happen. You can't use that in skincare.
Yeah.
You need specific ingredients that were made in the lab under sterile and clean conditions, under like serious testing, that
Yeah.
it could be put on your skin. That's the whole reason of the synthetic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, natural, even the natural stuff, when they're producing those, they go through several testing, very stringent testing, and
Yes.
sterilizing and preserving. Otherwise, we end up with all kinds of bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another understanding we need to understand. Science cannot work against you. It doesn't work against you. It works for
For
you.
you.
It
Mm-hmm.
Everything is for you.
Yeah.
So that fear mongering, greenwashing, pseudoscience needs to stop. It drives me nuts.
Yes, especially these TikTok trends. And I guess because I'm not into TikTok, I don't even have a TikTok account, to be honest. I don't even know how to use it. I'm still learning how to use Instagram, to be honest. But, to that point, we are seeing more beauty brands go onto TikTok to do more education around their products. I know, like Beauty Stat, they do a really good job of articulating their brand and like the highest level of vitamin C, L-ascorbic acid that's used and why it's important. But they're not pushing it to the teenagers or kids. They're pushing it to those who actually need it and may be of age. But
Hmm.
to your point, we're seeing so many younger people push these trends, and I'm saying that in quotes, as the way of beauty. And it's like, no, 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 sweetheart, no, baby, no, that's not it. And I guess because we're looking at it from, a more mature perspective, and we're like, why would you put poop on your face? Like, that is a
I'm
biohazard. Like,
like,
why
that
in the world do you think that's
stinks.
even appropriate? Like, if you
Yeah,
could have seen my face crunch up if you're watching the video, like, disgusting, right? Just
it
disgusting.
is. But there were people who tried it on TikTok, and that was the scariest part because, okay, you can watch the trends, but
Hmm.
always pass it through your brain's filter. Your brain
Yeah.
has a common sense filter, that's what I like to call, and say, does this sound okay? And
Yeah.
pass it through that filter. And if your gut feeling or your brain says, no, are you crazy? Stop it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, walk away.
Yeah.
Walk away. So yeah, you don't
But
want to end up in the ER with MSR, meat flesh eating bacteria on your face. Seriously.
exactly. And you know what? Everybody doesn't have that common sense activated as well. But we can go into that. That could be a whole nother segment. We're
True.
gonna table that for today. But one thing that you mentioned that I would love to get into is because it's something that aligns with my brand at GLC is you talked about compliance and good manufacturing processes or
Yes.
practices, GMPs. So with Avicina, you know, you're big about sharing the science. That's the mission. And you also have on your website Beauty Made Safer and how you've gone through a comprehensive list of ingredients, to make sure that it's the right ingredients that you're using for the products that you're creating. But you also, on the Chic Science Lab side for consulting, you're big about compliance and making sure products and brands are compliant based upon MOCRA right now to FDA requirements, et cetera. So, as a brand owner and consultant, why are you really emphasizing the importance of compliance and GMPs?
Well, GMP is good manufacturing practices. Doesn't know. So basically, that means that if you're formulating in a lab, you follow your good manufacturing practices, which is clean equipment, freshest ingredients with the correct lot numbers, with the COAs, and you have your MSDS. You don't pick up a goat milk from a farm and try to make a goat milk cream. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no. Not so that's the thing. And also to establish this even before you establish your brand, is good for so many levels. First of all, it gives you a peace of mind because you did everything right. And then you have your microbial testing and your compliance all in order.
Yeah.
And if you want to go to the brand route, you establish the brand route and you're selling in the United States, you're MOCRA compliant. So MOCRA was like established because US was staying behind of the EU rules and rest of the cosmetic regulations within the world.
Yeah.
So they were like, okay, I think we need something for ourselves now.
Yeah.
And then that's when they come up with MOCRA. So MOCRA is basically very similar to the European Council cosmetic regulations. And
Hmm.
that's I love following that.
Yeah.
They already did the research. Why am I gonna build Rome from scratch again?
Exactly.
So that's why we follow them. And I every time I do consulting, that's what I recommend anybody to follow that.
Hmm.
So, for example, with before MOCRA, the brands in the United States didn't have to declare any fragrance allergens or allergens in essential oils or any other botanical extracts for that matter.
Yeah.
However, European Council always says you have to list these for the
Hmm.
people to know. Like you
Hmm.
could be very allergic to linalool or limonen, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
with MOCRA, now we have to list it. However, as of today, we still don't have the correct, like the whole full list for the
Hmm.
allergens.
Yeah.
So what I recommend to everybody, follow the EU rules because they have the most updated version. Canada follows them. Canada has the same list. I think
Yeah.
Japan has the same list and everything. So that's why in even consulting and even in a brand, that's what I would recommend. Follow the GMP, get your ducks in a row, have your product information file for your sake of like
Hmm.
that's for you. Even like nobody's gonna come here and say like Europe's like show me your product information file. But what if you grow suddenly and really fast and then they say, oh, we want you in Europe, but you don't have your ducks in a row. You don't
Yeah.
have your product information file. You didn't structure yourself for the world. You know what's going to happen? You have to invent Rome from the beginning. You have to do all the work from the beginning.
Yep.
Don't do that.
Yes. And it's very
Right?
costly.
Start from the beginning.
Yes. And it's always so, listeners, if you've been checking out some of our prior podcasts, like listening to the conversation I had with Ariana Farina on MOCRA and some of the misconceptions around, compliance as well, that link is down in the show notes for you to listen to. But one thing that me and Dr. Ebru definitely align on is first, you need to be compliant. Secondly, you're investing money into building out your brand. And let's do it right from the beginning. So that's why asking those questions, and like Dr. Ebru mentioned, when you're working with the formulator, that's one of those key questions. what compliance regulations are you, reviewing and assessing with the ingredients that you're recommending for me to be compliant in those markets. I do the same thing for packaging. Like I have a regulatory specialist part of my team. So when we get the inky, we then review it, make sure it is compliant for US, Canada, EU. That's the basics for us. And making sure that it's executed well on the packaging because that's part of your product labeling. So me and Dr. Ebru have very similar practices. And that goes to show you like when you're intentional about, being a strategic partner and recommendations for the brands and building out a brand in Dr. Ebru's case, you are investing a lot of time and a lot of money. Everybody's working hard for the dollar that they are earning. And you want to be very intentional about what you're doing and not just for the dollar, like Dr. Ebru mentioned. So compliance is big for all of us. Don't come after us, me or Dr. Ebru, because we are making sure we're compliant. We have all of our ducks in a row. The people that's part of our team, we making sure they all have the ducks in a row. So get you a partner that's strategic and
Oh
have their
yeah.
ducks in a row and is big about compliance as well at the end of the day.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of ducks. We
Yeah,
have a
it's a lot of ducks. I mean, it's a whole river full of ducks that we have to follow. But to that point, it's so worth it at the end, and it does take a lot of time to get to that place. But be okay with taking the marathon, going the marathon route versus the sprint,
yeah.
because sometimes going too fast can cause more issues and more investments you have to put out as well. So,
Exactly.
Dr. Ebru, as we're starting to round out for today, I would love to ask you these two final questions.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those questions is, since you created a science-backed brand with Avicina, with the various product that you offer, from your eye concentrate to your facial cleansers to your oil elixirs to the mask and the creams. First question is, how do you think about? Well, let me rewind this. What is the biggest challenge you've experienced since building out the Avicina brand that's backed by science?
Everything.
Everything.
Everything. And here's why. Because when I started, like coming with this idea, the rebranding, let's put it from the rebranding, it happened during COVID. And
Mm,
we moved on to the black glass and the black packaging. Everybody was saying, oh no, you have to get colorful, like drunk elephant. I'm like, I'm not going to do drunk elephant colorful
yeah.
because we talk to everybody. We talk to ladies around 60 years of age, guys of around that age, LGBTQ, community, and everybody was like, "Yeah, I like black," because I don't
Yeah.
see my fingerprints. I can see it on the counter. It's not looking dirty, because like women are gonna pick it up. Like sometimes you have foundation in your hands and you touch a white packaging, and it happens to me. I end up, I have fingerprints on this. I don't want to see this,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And also, what happened with colorful packaging in Drunk Elephant was the younger generation was the teenagers were attracted to their packaging, thinking that it's colorful. It was for them, and the whole like case of I think it was California's general attorney or Boston general. They were like trying to ban it for teenagers to buy anti-aging cosmetic
Yeah.
just because of that colorful packaging. So
Yeah.
I was like, no, we're not going to have colorful packaging. So knowing your brand's niche and your audience and who you're talking to, that was one of the hardest parts to convey. And conveying the science, the niche that I was in, because nobody back then even know about skin microbiome in the beauty
Hmm.
industry. That was the hardest part. And, when you come up with a new brand and when you are trying to change the classical thinking, now that is hard and it's expensive. And you can't fight the SD Lauders or Tom Fords or L'Oreal's of this world. So forget that. You're not going to fight that. But there is your audience out there who will find you. So that was, I think, the most hardest part because I was like, I have all this science. Will they listen? Would they care? How am I going to reach to them? I was like, "Crack it. I'm just going to do it. My
Yeah.
my people is out there.
Yeah.
There must be somebody out there who is going through this as well. If I can help one person,
Yeah.
I'm okay." So, yes, profit is important. I'm
Hmm.
not going to say no. But be ethical. Be transparent. When you go to your bed at night, when you put your head to the pillow, put your head to the pillow with that peace within you saying, I did this right. I didn't cut corners. I didn't
Yeah.
scam anybody. That is the most important thing. And that still haunts me to this day. It's like, did I do everything right? You know?
I love that. And, you mentioned a couple points that I definitely can appreciate, which is one, know your niche. And secondly, have focus groups. Because like you mentioned, you knew who you wanted to target, and you went out and asked that target audience in that market, like, hey, what do you think about this? Oh, we love the black packaging. So I see this as a big opportunity for a lot of startup brands, who I speak with, because they're like, oh, I'm creating it, just in a bubble, in a silo by myself. And it's like, okay, well, how you're in the business of being a business and being profitable. If you're doing it as a hobby, then that's great too. That's your business. But if you're doing this as a business to solve to provide a solution or solve a need, who are you targeting? How are you engaging with them? What does that conversation look like? It's a two-way communication to make sure you're creating something that is sustainable and effective for that audience. So focus groups are a big missed opportunity. And I'm glad that you mentioned what your process was, because as part of learning and the challenges, that's a challenge, and even for myself, I go out to my target audience and I do interviews, to ask them, what is it that you like? What is some of the brands that you like for packaging? What are things that you're seeing from an ingredient standpoint? What
Mm-hmm.
type of packaging is it in? What type of materials is the packaging? So I'm assessing and doing the same thing for my own focus groups to offer right recommendations. So we have similar practices, continuation of that. And so final question is, you're big about educating brands and consumers alike to share the science, especially around Avicena and the portfolio you offer. You help talk about, the importance of inflammation, good inflammation, and why it's necessary, and also the weakened skin due to inflammaging and what you need to help mitigate some of those things. The final question for you is, since you have your focus on wellness and using intentional products, what is a myth that you've heard within the beauty industry around ingredients that you would like to debunk right now?
Myth. There's a lot of them. That's why I'm thinking.
Okay. Or the top ones that come to mind. We won't
Oh
even
God.
say,
Clean means chemical free.
ooh, that's a good one.
That's one of them.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, back in the day there were a lot of ingredients that was used for filler, and now we have so many, like, as the science and the research goes forward, we have better alternatives and we're using them, right? So
Hmm.
at the beginning, yeah, clean was good, but now it's used as a fear mongering thing. And even Dior and Chanel cleaned up their portfolio, by the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, clean means chemical free. No, that's a myth. Everything is chemical, including water, as we said.
Yeah.
But what matters the most is safety, evidence, and real efficacy.
Mhm.
No fear-based messaging. If you see a brand being saying, "Oh, this ingredient is bad for you, and we're water free. This is bad for you," walk away. Walk
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
If there's fear involved in the messaging, they're not there for your own good. They're there to make your money, take your money with fear. Walk
Mm.
away.
Yeah.
You want transparent brands that knows their safety, their evidence, and their efficacy. Three things.
Yeah.
They will answer you. Like, email them, they'll answer you, you
Hmm.
know? So that's the thing, one of the things I think. But I
Oh
have a
wait.
list of myths, so we can talk about that for
Oh
fun.
wait. Maybe we need to do a separate segment just talking about, because I love how you mentioned clean does not always mean chemical free, and I hear the same thing, that natural is better, and you be like, well, it depends, and what does that look like? I'm not a formulator, so I don't even sit here and try to act like I am. But when I go to the different conferences and hearing different webinars, they talk about those things. And when you have retailers who are like, yeah, we are clean, focus on clean and things like that, no discount to them, but it's like, what does that mean? Because every brand has a different definition of clean,
Exactly.
just like all, brands have different definitions of sustainability,
Exactly.
so to your point, I'm glad you mentioned that myth, because that is one that I see. And they be like, oh, clean does, it's all natural derived ingredients, or blah 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 blah. And you be like, I
I
don't
mean,
understand.
arsenic is natural. I'm not licking arsenic, you
What?
know?
That part. That part.
There's so many. Like at one point, one day I saw something. They were using breast milk, human breast milk, for soap to be used on the newborn babies because they thought it was better. And I was like, kudos to you for producing that much milk.
That part.
That part
That's number
was
one.
awesome. How did you do that? I have no idea because I wasn't able
That
to do
part.
that on my own. So perfect. But why are
Okay.
you putting such a valuable thing into the soap? And there's no, like, I couldn't wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on? So if it sounds crazy, it is crazy. So walk
That,
away from the crazy. You don't need more crazy in your life. We have too much crazy.
listen, because the world is already crazy enough.
Oh
So
yeah.
we don't need any extra crazy added to it.
No,
So because that could be a whole nother segment, but we're not gonna get into that for today. So Dr. Ebru, I definitely appreciate you sharing your story, the importance of inflammaging, and why we need select inflammations in place to help keep us alive and vital. And
Mhm.
also, the empowerment of creating your own brand, being intentional around compliance, and also how you consult other brands on that aspect too. So I love that. And listeners, you've heard Dr. Ebru talk about her story, and you see that she is big about sharing the science, and we just hit just the surface level. So Dr. Ebru's information is down in the show notes for you all. Please get engaged with her. Please check out her website with Avicina. I've gone through her products. I'm going to be ordering a discovery kit so I can test her products and, for myself. And also, I love that that's right, baby. You heard my girl. I love how she is sharing the science and really making sure the beauties are safer for all of us to use. That's right. And multitasking products at that. So all of the links will be down in the show notes for you all to get engaged with her. And if you need consulting advice and a team of experts, contact, Chic Science Labs as well. She has the team that's big about compliance. And she is there, definitely there to help your brand grow and scale as well. So Dr. Ebru, I appreciate you for
Thank you
sharing
so
for
much.
today. Yes. And so as we're starting to wrap up, we are going to get into our featured power round. So, listeners and viewers, if this is your first time here with us, then we get into some fun, fast facts about our powerhouse guests. And if you've been rocking with me, you know this is what we do at the end of every segment because that's just how we roll here. Okay. And so, we're going to display 90 seconds on the clock, and we are going to ask Dr. Ebru about two of her fun facts that she shared with us. And that is, she loves science. You can hear that, based upon our conversation today. And when you view her website, you'll see why she loves science. Okay. She's a researcher for a reason. And she also is a sci fi fan. So we are going to put 90 seconds on the clock and we're going to see how many questions Dr. Ebru can answer in 90 seconds around her fun, fast facts. So you ready?
Yep.
Okay, let's go. So to start, what is your favorite science fiction movie or book?
Dune from Frank Herbert, and it's dark. I like it because it's revolves around how the smallest things in our environment, in our routines, can make a profound transformation over time. And I love Dune, and I love
Ooh.
the desert. I think,
Oh, that kind of goes to science with, starting with the cell as well, the
yeah,
smallest thing. So
yeah.
I love that. Okay. So if you could have dinner with any scientist, past or present, who would it be?
Rosalind Franklin.
Okay.
She is the woman whose work on DNA paved the way for modern biology. And two of the guys she was working with
Hmm.
literally stole her work. You know?
Oh,
Oh yeah. And then she still stood her ground. And years after, she was credited with her work, how she found the DNA helix. She's the first one to show it with crystallography, and it's pretty amazing. She didn't give up.
listen, and you need DNA to keep everything vital and alive, especially us humans and the creation of humans as well. So I love that. And why men stealing artwork? Whole nother topic. Okay, on to the next question. Tell us one of your favorite ingredients using the scientific nomenclature and the trade name.
Vitamin B3, which is niacinamide, and I love it because it's such a true multitasker, and there's a lot of data on it on PubMed, and I love it. That's
Yeah.
I try to use it everywhere.
And one of your products actually contains niacinamide as well.
Yes, actually, the microalgae immune B3 serum has it.
Okay.
We have it in the cream as well. We have tiny bit in the cleanser. Told you, I tried to put it everywhere. It's water soluble. You can only put into water based formulas. You can't put it
Okay.
in the oil.
Okay. I love it. Okay. I know we're at time, but I want to ask you these two last questions.
Sure.
So, what is one wellness ritual you would never skip, no matter how busy you are?
Skin reset. I like
Ooh.
resetting. I call it reset, and here's why. Because first of all, you need to clean your skin before you go to bed. This could be in
Mhm.
shower, or not in the shower. So I try to, after I cleanse it with our cleanser, I try to splash cold water to my face.
Mhm.
Yes, it wakes you up before you go to bed, but what it does is it stimulates the circulation. So, and I follow it with a barrier restoring serum, which is our serum, and our moisturizer, which actually helps. So, by applying the serum and then the moisturizer, I'm sealing in everything and preventing transdermal water loss. That's why I call it the skin reset. So, yeah,
Got it. Got it. And you have a philosophy as well that's talking about with your full products, reset. And then what's the other words? Is like reset. And then you have like re energize or something or
rejuvenate.
rejuvenate.
Yes.
So you also have that incorporated into like that's mentioned on her website, and you see that that's part of her. The reset is the beginning part, and how
Mhm.
she's using intentional products, that actually are advantageous for your skin to help reduce inflammation as well.
Yes.
And then last question for you is I have a quote since you're a sci-fi fan that I would like for you to name the movie this iconic line came from. And you may get this one. Is the way I see it, if you're going to build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style?
Back to the Future.
Yes, that's it. I must say that's a classic. That's one of my favorite sci-fi
Well,
movies.
still, I'm not great with quotes, but I loved Michael J. Fox. I had a crush on him.
Yep. Okay. And then last one to round us out for today is I'll be back.
Oh God, Terminator.
Yes.
Are we
See,
saying it with the German accent? I'll be back.
I'll be back. You can't say that line without having the accent. Like
I know, right?
it's just part of it. So with that, we will be back with our next session here on the Product and Packaging Powerhouse. You've heard from our powerhouse guest, Dr. Ebru, who is the founder and CEO at Avicina, creating intentional, safer products to help reduce inflammaging, and also the chief consultant at Beauty Chic Labs to make sure that your brand is compliant and helping you grow and scale your brand as well. So to get engaged with Dr. Ebru, all of the links are down in the show notes for you as well, with her website, her LinkedIn page as well. So please get engaged with her, ask her questions. You see, she is willing to share the science with you all to make sure that you're using those intentional products, and also how to try her products and share your feedback with her as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to today's segment. Make sure you do follow, like, and subscribe so you don't miss a session. And we look forward to seeing you in the house for our next session. Talk to you soon.